Welcome to the Positive Persistence Podcast, where ordinary people inspire your extraordinary success. What's up, Positive Persistence family? I have a question for you. Have you ever been on social media and see that person that looks like they have it all? Of course you have. We've seen those people all the time. Well, our guest today was that guy. He seemed to have it all: a successful career in public speaking and a loving family. However, after a profound personal struggle, he embarked on a journey of self-discovery and transformation. Today, he's a keynote speaker, author, and the creator of HabitFreak formula, which helps individuals and organizations harness the power of habits to unlock extraordinary success and fulfillment. Christoph Merrill, welcome to the show.
Ian, thanks for having me, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, it is my pleasure to have you on the show, and you have the utmost, it's just an incredible story to tell. And after we had talked earlier last week, it is definitely a must to have you on and inspire our listeners and our viewers who are in that tough spot, that spot where, you know, they need some words of encouragement and know that other people have been there too and have been able to come out on the other side. Now, Christoph, your journey has played a significant role in shaping your life and your mission. And, you know, I just want to give you some space. If you could share what pivotal moment led to your transformation or for you to transform your struggles into the creation of what you now know as the HabitFreak formula.
In order to kind of like tell the story properly, right, I got to go back a couple of years. So if we can kind of rewind, you know, those wonderful old MTV, it's going to date me, I know, but you know, the MTV rewind. So we're going to go back, I'm going to say 2010. So in 2010, I had a business with a partner. We helped people invest their own, I'm going to call it retirement savings, in IRAs or self-directed IRAs. And we needed to kind of like share our message, right? Like tell people, hey, did you know that you could own, you know, this in an IRA? Did you know that you could do this in an IRA? So, you know, I would call it sales, but it really wasn't sales. It was more of education, because we weren't selling them a particular like investment vehicle, you know, put it into this property or do this. We were just telling them that they could do that. And that process led us to realize that there were a lot of companies that were, I'm going to call them seminar companies, that were putting a lot of people in a room together that then would talk about mindset, or they would talk about success, or they would talk about, you know, whatever. And this particular group, it was called Peak Potentials. They're out of Canada. T. Harv Eker is the creator of that. He wrote a book called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And he was putting, back in 2010, between 1,000 to 5,000 people in conference centers all around the United States and Canada on a monthly basis. I mean, it was impressive. So we knew that was who we wanted to connect with. So did this, and I had 21 salespeople. Not a single one of them wanted to be the speaker, right? Like go and present the information. And my wife, I have to give her credit. We were talking one night, and she kind of just, I was venting. I was venting that frustration. Like, why won't any of these guys take this opportunity? Like, and she kind of just looked at me with that like dumb, like, you are such an idiot look. And she goes, it's you. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so in an effort to be a better dad, now I want to be very, very clear here, right? My goal was not to be the best dad. It was simply to be a better dad than my dad was. And that's not to put any blame or shame on my dad. That's just simply like, I want to be a better dad. So I knew that because of this kind of new role, I was going to be traveling a lot. So I was like, I want to leave my kids with, I don't know, some form of dad, a little wacky, a little fun, a little love, a little compassion, a little, you know, whatever they needed. So I started writing my kids kind of like little notes that I would leave by their bed if I was going to be traveling that day. I tell you this, I kind of set this up because it never occurred to me ever that little habit would one day later be the thing like that literally saved my life. Like as simple as that is, right? Like what do you mean writing notes to your kids? Like I did it because I wanted to be a better dad. And so I wanted them to have a message. So I wrote it. I'm going to say it became a habit. It totally started as a habit, right? Like something that I did. Then it started to kind of like transcend habit. It then became like part of my routine. Like, I mean, it wasn't just a habit that I was trying out. It was like part of like who I was. And then it became something even more where it started to become, I'm going to call it part of my character. Now, I know that sounds crazy to have like leaving notes to your kids, like part of a character. The first year that I traveled, I was gone 42 weekends that year.
Wow.
Like, so, right? And when I was gone Friday to Monday. So like the whole weekend. Again, my wife is like an absolute angel, like power to her, right? Again, some of them were very short. Some of them were, a little bit longer, but nothing in the setup, nothing in the notes was basically like grandiose. It was just, at the time I started, I had 3 kids. By the time I finished, I had 4. So fast forward, 2015, I kept running into the same problems. I kept feeling like I was, no matter what I did, no matter what I changed, I kept having kind of the exact same problems in my life come up over and over. It was like a cycle, right? And I kept running into it. I struggled with it.
But also at this point, Christoph, just so our listeners and viewers understand, like, as you had described it to me, like the Instagram version of Christoph Merrill that everyone else might have seen from the outside would have said, this guy's got the life.
Yeah. Again, smoking hot wife. My wife is like the love of my life, the dream woman I could ever imagine. I always say I have 3 amazing kids, even though I have 4, because one of them is always being not amazing. They just rotate who that is. House on a hill, large expansion mansion. I mean, it was absolutely gorgeous. Lived in a physical guard gated community in Las Vegas. Drove the car of my dreams. I was traveling every weekend. When I was out and speaking on stages, I was kind of weighted to hand and foot. Most of the hotels that we would stay at, I would be in some version of a suite. Whether that's the presidential version or whatever the biggest one is that they had. I was living a dream. I mean, it really was. From an outside perspective, like, wow, like you have everything you could ever want. But inside, something felt disconnected. Something just wasn't, I couldn't figure out what it was. It wasn't right. I couldn't get it right. I couldn't exercise. I couldn't, anything I tried. It just felt like I was hitting a wall over and over and over and over. And so I decided, you know what, like a life altering change has to happen. So September 13th is a very infamous day in my life. It's actually more potent than my anniversary to my wife. I know that's difficult to say out loud because I love my wife, but September 13th has a lot more potency. So I made a decision that was going to be life altering. I don't want to go too graphic. I was going to essentially end my own life.
Right.
The second, again, not to grandiose this any more than it already is, and not to, kind of dramatize it. The thought that ran through my head, the single second before it was absolute chaos in everyone else's life but mine. The single thought ran through my head. You haven't written the note to your kids for the last time. I want to let that settle for just a second. It didn't faze me. It didn't faze me that, like, literally the thought was, you're going to need to write your kids a note for the very last time. Whoa. And I'll admit, I wrote horrible things to my kids. I'm in reading them. They're actually in a little brown box my grandpa left me up behind my desk. I'm the only one that will ever see them. I'm the only one I pray that will ever read them. But the things I wrote, imagine telling your 8-year-old son, I'm going to need you to step up and become the man of the house because I quit. Whoa. Or telling your daughter that you're not going to be there because, the stupid boy up the street broke your heart. Or I'm not going to be there to walk you down the aisle or watch you struggle. And it was at that moment that I kind of witnessed their life going forward without me. And it was at that moment that I was like, whoa, I am not in a safe position. This is, whoa, like what was about to happen was already decided had I not had that interruption in thought. And so I'm like eternally grateful for the idea, the concept that like me writing those notes to my kids saved my life. It was shortly after that I learned or discovered that I am I have the superpower of being bipolar type 1. We get crazy high and we get really, really low like that day at the lake. That was kind of where I'm going to say the concept of habits or the pursuit of habits or the realizing the life altering nature of habits and going, okay, I think there's something here simply because I did not like the label that had been placed on me. I am bipolar. Like I read about it in the Wikipedia. I Google websites. I, try to learn like what awesome people are there out there that are just like me. Wow, there aren't very many left. And so it was at that moment that like habits just became, I'm going to say like my area of focus, where I'm willing to spend the next 30 years of my life like focused on, and that's where it gets fun.
And as you had mentioned before, one of your superpowers is being able to stay super dialed in and focused for a long
Mhm.
period of time.
Oh yeah, I am wildly. I'm going to put it in two words. The first two words is radically obsessed, and the other two words would be hyper focused. It's the same activity. It's literally me doing the exact same thing. It's how is that word perceived, right? Like obsession, and to the level that I get obsessed, most people would be concerned. Most people would be like, that is not healthy. However, in the business world, in the world of success, however you define success,
Mhm.
hyper focus, is like a sought after, highly compensated skill task, of individuals that can kind of like dive into something. I don't know how not to do that. The problem is though, is that interrupt me in that kind of like radical obsession or hyper focus.
Yeah,
I don't even realize that I'm being a tad irrational, maybe aggressive or rude, or frankly downright like a massive jerk. Cause like I'm focused on a task, I'm pursuing something, I'm kind of like I'm in the middle of it, I'm in the flow, right? And so an interruption, ooh, like it would take me 20 minutes to kind of get back into the flow, like get back, like rewind and kind of like, okay, where was I? Where was it going? Like, okay, and to dive back in. And so that limited ability of kind of being maybe, too quick to respond. And that could very well be to my own daughter or to a business partner. Like it doesn't even matter who it is. And to be fair to myself, it wasn't from a place of anger. The interruption wasn't like the anger. The realization that I'm going to have to start over was the anger. So I was more
sure.
mad about like, oh my gosh, I was almost finished with this, particular section or project or whatever.
Right.
I'm going to have to start over. And so the interruption was sweet, innocent. It could be anything from, hey, daddy, look what I did. Look what I did at school. Look at the picture that I drew.
Mhm.
And I would react with venom without realizing it. It didn't even like regulate that I was responding in that way because I was just focused on something over here.
Yeah,
And so creating the habit or the routine or the tradition, like again, all of these words kind of get like used synonymously for
sure.
the same type of a thing, right? For me, identifying or kind of like realizing by having a very good spouse, by having kids who I take moderate credit for this, even though I'm sure I'm probably do a little bit more than I take, of teaching them that dad might react in a particular way that is not okay, but you're okay. And so don't take that and be, oh my gosh, dad doesn't love me, dad doesn't, something, but that's just kind of the way that dad's brain works. So how can we set up ways to kind of create success around this, right? I'm going to use an example that works very, very well for me. If my wife, let's say I'm in the middle of something, let's say I'm doing nothing but watching television. I'm in the other room, I'm watching a video, I'm watching a podcast on the TV, and she comes in and she just pops in and she says, "Hey, any chance you could take out the garbage?" No. It kind of like boils my blood just a little bit like thinking about it because for me, the concept or the idea of being free and independent, like the identity of that, right? Like gets offended. And so all of a sudden, like, I'm like, no, I'm not going to take out the trash right now. Versus if she were to kind of like pop in and, hey, I know I'm interrupting, kind of acknowledge like what's happening. I know I'm interrupting. Is there any chance you might be able to take out the garbage anytime between now and let's say dinner time? Because now the ball is in my court. Now the freedom of kind of, interrupting whatever it is I'm doing, whether I'm on my laptop or, whatever. Now I have the freedom to decide when I get to do, the trash, which again, I'm using the trash because it's actually like a very critical task in like a home. Like if you don't take out the trash, like it builds up, right? I have kids, it gets smelly.
Absolutely.
It is a very critical, I'm going to say, operation.
Yes.
That has to happen in order for, I'm going to say, my home life to function and like the quality of our home life. Like, so it's as important as turning in, a report or delivering a keynote to an audience. Like it literally is, it's that high. But I think most of us kind of assume or look at like taking out the trash as like, oh gosh, I have to do this. Like it's terrible. Like, and it is like, I mean, 4 kids, like we go through trash like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, nobody
like,
enjoys taking out the trash.
I can't believe the gallons of milk my son can drink in a week. Like it's amazing to me, right? So the task needs to get done. It really does need to get done cheerfully because it is an essential task that needs to get done to run the household. Yeah. So the dichotomy of that is one of those things that like once I was able to be radically self-aware, and I realize I use radically like in almost every definition of words that I use, but that's because I'm very polarized. So it's either black or white for me. There is very, very little gray in my world. And so that radical self-awareness of kind of looking at like, so I think most habit advice is wrong. And here's why I think most habit advice is wrong.
Okay.
Most habit advice is given for picturesque days. Most habit advice is given and like suggested and recommended and even encouraged in calm conditions. When habits are needed most, when you're under pressure, when your life is being, kind of like your decisions are being challenged, that's when, frankly, habits that were really nice to have, I call them nice habits, basically crumble under the weight of the pressure. They dissolve. And you default back to kind of your default operating system, whatever that may be. You could call that character. You could call that your values. You could call that, whatever. And that pressure is what ultimately defines not what habits you should have. Here's that fun part of like being a habit freak that like, it lights me up when I think about it. It lights me up when I study it. It lights me up when I'm, so we just initiated a national PhD research study. And it's on the state of workforce habits. I'm like so jazzed for this. But what I'm trying to find out is I don't necessarily want to talk about the habits. I want to talk about why the habits break down. The system behind the habits, right? Because if it's just a nice habit, if it's just something that you do because you thought it would be great, but you're not willing to do it when the pressure applies, because trust me, pressure is being applied subtly or violently in all areas of your life, almost like if you're sitting around going, man, I have it good, trust me, the universe is sending you a message, just wait. And so using habits that are in that world that are like, kind of, I'm going to call them battle-tested habits, those survive the difficult tests. But what you have to ask is not kind of what habit failed, because that's actually irrelevant. It's why did the habit fail? Was it fatigue, right? Was I tired, right? Like a lot of people have goals of, let's say, eating healthier, but then they work until, let's say, 8 or 9 o'clock. Maybe they haven't had dinner. And what's the easy route? Drive through a juicy, delicious cheeseburger made in about 4 minutes, right? Like, whoa, like the ease of it circumvents the initial habit or the initial desire, the initial goal of like, I'm going to eat healthier. It's too easy to be like, you know what? I can have a hamburger just this once. I don't have to have a salad. It's that pressure. Was it time? Like, did you not have enough time to do what it is that you said you do? So therefore you defaulted back to easy mode, which is what I think all of us want, because that's what we know, that's what we like. But boy, habits, if they don't stick, they're frankly just a terrible hobby.
Now, speaking of habits in general, Christoph, I know that you
Yeah.
talk about non-negotiable habits
Yes.
and momentum habits. So can
I
you
do.
decipher the difference between the two of
Oh
those?
boy, I sure can. A non-negotiable habit, the easiest way to think about this is this. If you found a wallet on the sidewalk with no driver's license, I want to be very clear, right? No identifiable information whatsoever in the said wallet, right? I think it is reasonable to believe that most people's habit would be to stop, pick it up, look through and see if they could figure out whose it was. If there's no, phone number in there, call this number if you find my wallet, a driver's license, this is an address and the name. We kind of default to we'll kind of look around and be like, hey, is anybody looking for the wallet? Like if there's somebody nearby, we might be like, hey, did you just drop this? If we, but then we default to okay, I guess finders keepers, right? Switch it. You open up the wallet and there is the driver's license of the person that lost the wallet. I think most people's kind of non-negotiable is they would do everything in their power to return the wallet to said person with no expectation of compensation. Kind of like the golden rule, right? That's a level of character that you're either, I'm going to say, born with it, taught to live by it, or you have chosen not to live with it, right? Because there are people, sadly, hopefully nobody listening to the podcast, that find a wallet, chuck it, even though it had a driver's license. This is not props for me, but I have found a wallet and driven 25 miles out of my way to literally take it to the house, knock on the door and be like, hey, I found this over here. You know what? Again, just the hassle of going to the DMV again is probably worth $50 to me, right? Ugh.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that non-negotiable, when you're not being, I'm going to say, watched, does the habit stick? Is it still there, right? And see, this is where it gets fun and complicated, because that might be considered a value, not necessarily a habit. It could be considered character instead of a habit, but most people default to, I have the habit of being honest, right? Most people say that. Has that ever been conflicted? Again, I'm not trying to call you out. I'm just trying to ask a question. I can promise you that I say I have a habit, or I'm striving. I love the word strive because, again, I'm not perfect, right? And that actually kind of gives me a little bit of an out. I strive to be honest. Typically, I am against that conversation when I get pulled over for speeding. When I get pulled over and I know I was speeding, right? My defenses are up. That guy was going faster. Why me? Right? And then they come up. Do you have any idea how fast you were going? Yeah, of course I have an idea. I was going 82 in a 70. Of course I know how fast I was going. I know I was risking, right? And that's where, under certain conditions, we've allowed ourselves or given ourselves permission to make it so that maybe our values or our habits, right, don't necessarily matter, because we're somehow justifying that, our speeding was somehow validated, right?
Yes, right. We can bend our values a little bit.
A little bit. And what I would say is again, no judgment. There's no judgment, because you get to live with it. It's your right. Sometimes that's okay. But then when we know when it crosses the line. Funny thing about me, right? So if my wife or a business partner or someone were to simply call or text me and use the words, we need to talk, and that's it. That's the text. That's the voicemail. My brain goes on red alert. My brain goes, oh crap. Do they know about the bird that I still feel guilty for killing with my BB gun when I was 7? The emotional, logically, that's not where they're going, but I go there, right? Because still to this day, the act of me, the way that I feel, murdering an innocent bird still conflicts the idea that I still did that, like it's a regret. And I think that's actually where regret comes from, is the conflict between like the character that you are and the action that you took one particular or 10 times or 100 times or whatever. That's where that regret, like, I knew I shouldn't have done that. So I think everybody needs to do their best to make it right and then kind of move on. But that non-negotiable, I think that's what creates like heroics. So one of my favorite movies of all time is Hacksaw Ridge. It is an R-rated movie. It's a movie about wartime, and it is very graphically violent, right? But Private Doss had a non-negotiable. I will not pick up a gun. And like the generals or his commanding officers are like, wait, you want to volunteer to go like run into, I don't remember the words that they give, the hellfire of battle without a means of heart, like, they didn't use
a weapon,
right? Yeah. Like without a what? Right. Mm-hmm. And again, they tried at length to disqualify him. And then as you watch the movie, like I literally get goosebumps when I think about this. I don't think that he did that to be heroic. I really don't. Because I don't think many of us like are like listening to police scanners and driving around the city, like waiting for a burning building so we can run in there and get media attention. I don't think that's like how this works, right?
Yeah.
I'll use your own story of not accepting what the doctors told you, of saying, you know what? No. What I believe is what I believe. And I'm going to and you willed it in, like, you didn't do that to be heroic. You did that because you weren't willing to accept like the definition that they gave you about your condition. So that's what Private Doss did, was he went into battle and he did what he could, which was become a medic and help anyone that had been wounded. And that just, right? But again, that was not out of a desire. That was not out of a habit of like, I'm going to create this. No, it is so far removed from kind of a non-negotiable habit. But then I'm gonna switch games if we can. Runners. Runners. I hate runners. I really do. I love their identity.
You got to know that you are talking to.
I know. And that's why I knew this was a little bit confrontational. But hopefully I can, again, I'm not trying to save face. I admire and idolize the identity of a runner. But the actual act of running would be I would rather go to the dentist and get a root canal. I really would. It's just not my thing.
Yeah.
However, what runners have become, like, you probably take your shoes on vacation, don't you? You run on vacation.
Sometimes.
That commitment, that's a non-negotiable. That has become part of your identity, part of your character, part of who you are. And so while I highly despise the act of running, I idolize the imagery and the being that runners have become, because they know that they have more than one set of muscles in their legs. So they know that they can run on different sets of muscles. And like, because if I went out and I started running, like, I would just run as fast as I could for as long as I could. Like, there would be no version of patience. There would be no version of alternating, heel toe heel, left, right. Like, there would be no, and I've studied this. I've studied runners because of this. So I idolize them because they've become amazing at their craft, at that like thing that has made them, right? Like, running and them kind of go synonymously. Like, they're cool with like the, short shorts and the shirt that feels maybe a little bit, 2 sizes too small. And they've got the apps on their phone and they're tracking this and that. And their input, like, the whole ideology about running is the people that are runners are astronomically different from the people who randomly jog.
Okay, I accept that. And like, using the runner as a model here.
As a model, right?
Where do you feel that momentum habits come into the identity of a runner?
You have 2 types of momentum. I do not believe that you can ever stand perfectly still and not be losing momentum or kind of like, right? So I believe there's two types, positive and negative momentum. Negative momentum is what typically happens to most runners. And I'm going to use marathoners as an example. Well, let me ask you this. What does the runner's wall mean?
It's time to ask yourself, when was the last time you prioritized you? Did you know that research shows that nearly 85% of high performers struggle to maintain a performance mindset while juggling the demands of work and personal life? Those who actively prioritize their performance mindset and personal growth are 30% more likely to achieve their goals in business and life. If you're feeling crippling stress and anxiety, or if you're feeling guilty when you take a moment for yourself, or if you're stuck in the grind and feeling burnt out, you're not alone. Many of us yearn for more, but struggle with the fear of being judged or feeling selfish. And you want to step into the next best version of yourself. That's why I created the Rinse Method, which got me from paraplegic to marathon runner. Backed by science-based proven strategies and now customized for high performers like you. If you're stuck and stressed and want clear steps that you can implement today to move forward, make sure you visit thepositivepersistence.com to download our free Rinse PDF. Usually for marathoners, it could be anywhere from mile 18 to 20, where you really are having a struggle mentally to
right?
feel that you are able to continue. Like you've lost a little bit of your will to push yourself.
Correct.
That's the wall.
Right? And so the wall, I think we see all versions of the wall in almost everything we want to pursue. It just looks different. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, there's a wall. For some people, that wall is, I don't have any money to invest in okay, right? For other people, it's not the money, it's the time. For other people, it's the skill. For other people, it's all of these things. So a positive momentum habit is something that claws, and I mean like you're clawing into the ground, that incrementally moves you forward. That is a positive momentum habit. Something, and running, again, is a perfect analogy, because in order to grow your muscles, in order to build muscles, there's a couple of things that have to happen. A, you have to train them, you have to stretch them, you have to break them down, you have to get sore. The first time anybody gets sore, the first time, not, after 200, the very first time, that's you essentially clawing out of your current comfort zone. That's you clawing out of it. And there's a wound because of it, right? But you're kind of stretching your comfort zone. Because if you've never ran, let's say 5 miles, and the first time you run 50 feet, and it like burns, and it like, oh no, I'm done. Like, oh wow, right? And you stop and you give up and you never run again. Well, your comfort zone is 47 feet or wherever it is that wherever it is that burn happened. Runners continually keep pushing that boundary forward. The act of consistently running, this is where the fun gets, is I'm not specifically talking about the habit of running. I'm talking about the habit of choosing to be consistent, even though there's pain. That's very different than the habit of running. They're not diabolically different, but they're not related. Because the habit of running, I guarantee you there are some runners who don't enjoy running, but yet still choose to run. So the positive momentum habits are those habits that you can push through because you realize and or recognize, like a time long ago, I used to be 92 pounds overweight from my current state. 92 pounds. That is heavier than 2 of my daughters. Like, that's a human being. I was not comfortable being sore. I hated that feeling. Hated it. Because what I would typically do is I would go to the gym and I would overdo it. I would commit to myself, you know what? In order to lose the weight, in order to feel better, in order to get in shape, I need to run 3 miles. If you've never run before and you just get on the thing, even if you're running at a low pace, like a mild, like fat guy jog,
You're gonna feel it.
Oh man, you're gonna feel
Yes,
it in your
sir.
knees. You're gonna feel it like in your back. You're gonna like places you're like, I was running. Why is my neck hurting? Right. So a negative momentum habit is almost the mindset of, gosh, you know what? Like before you decided to run, you weren't sore. And you kind of throw it out there and you don't even realize that you're throwing an anchor out. Now, one anchor might not stop, right? Might not stop you. But over time, more anchors thrown out, more mindset type habits, more, right? Negative momentum where, gosh, you know what? I don't like being sore. So, okay, I'm not going to go back to the gym. I'm going to wait until I feel better. That guy doesn't go back to the gym very often because he goes in such spurts, right? He goes through 3 mile run, 2 weeks off, 2 mile run, 2 weeks off, 1 mile run. Like, because every time he goes back, he's exerting himself to the point of almost failure, that therefore the recovery phase is so long. I remember the first time that I went to the track and ran. Oh my gosh. I overdid it because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And then I woke up the next morning and I felt like I felt like a cat had clawed in under my skin and just it was hard to go down the stairs. Like the
Yeah.
pressure, right?
Yep.
The pressure on my legs going down, it was like as if they were just like, whoop. They almost just gave up their heads like, we can't save you, just fall down. And so that image, that identity is so hard to push through because I don't want to be the guy that can't walk up the stairs, right? So it's where you kind of understand or accept that pressure comes into play. Because if you want to be a great entrepreneur, is there pressure? Guaranteed,
Absolutely.
right? If you want to be a great podcaster, is there pressure?
Of course.
If you want to be a great dad, is there pressure?
Oh, of course.
If you want to be, you pick it. If you want to be great, and I'm not talking about the best in the world, I'm talking about if you want to be good at it, there's pressure. It's how you view that pressure that then changes that identity component. Because runners know that the wall is coming. They almost plan on it. And I have heard a couple of runners that I have done when I've been doing interviews and such, where they're like, I was fully expecting it at 18 and it didn't come until 22. It's because they've kind of, and then they went on to explain that that's because they broke it, like it no longer exists at 18. But the exact same runner 2 weeks later might hit the wall at 10 miles because Because they assume oh, I got this, right? Dude, I last week I didn't experience it at 18, so I could push on through, yeah, I can go faster. And that's what we do. And then all of a sudden the wall comes earlier. So I don't think at any point you ever are free from that pressure. So I don't think you're ever going to have freedom from negative habits. I think that is the constant battle that we being, I'm going to call this lifetime free agents. We get to choose what we want to do. We get to choose what we want to pursue. We get to choose where we want to go. We get to choose what definitions are placed on us and if we accept them or not. Yeah. And yet at the same time, we're going to call ourselves an idiot. We're going to tell ourselves we're not good enough. We're going to not share that you're struggling with something because we assume, right? The identity of someone who shares, when I grew up, so I was born in 1976. So I grew up in the 80s, the best freaking time in the world to grow up. It was perceived as a weakness. I do not ever, and I mean ever, remember seeing, he could have done it in private. I do not ever remember seeing my father shed a tear. Not once.
That's just not what men do, right?
Yeah, that was a sign of weakness. That was a sign of of frailty, of whatever.
Yes.
I am usually kind of like an emotional bag of cats, right? I struggle with a mental illness that I don't consider an illness. I consider it a superpower. And so every day there is some version of struggle not externally, internally for me. So understanding that and accepting that, which was super hard, that was not easy. Accepting or acknowledging the fact that like medication, meditation, breath work, exercise, some version of therapy, journaling, like all of these things that I do, we're going to have to play some part, small or big, role, ongoing, never ending. Otherwise, I can dip into mania or hypomania, which then not only puts my life at risk, but puts others around me when I, kind of like disassociate from reality.
Yeah.
That's a very, very scary place. So
Mhm.
this is where it's difficult for me. I perceive medication as a negative momentum habit because it is chemically castrating my brain from the chemicals that are produced when I am in hypomania or mania, which are more addictive than the strongest heroin that's ever been produced on the planet, which is why so many bipolars tend to tell themselves the lie, I'm just going to stop my medication for just a little bit so I can feel more like myself. And then when I start feeling like I'm going down, I'll get back on medication and, kind of ride the wave. Doesn't work. So I physically I take one medication at night, one medication in the morning. For whatever reason, the one at night is harder for me to take. I literally struggle with the decision every night. There is literally the voice in the back of my head that pops in that says, hey, just maybe don't take it tonight. Skip tonight. See how you feel tomorrow. Maybe you'll start feeling a little bit. Again, I don't want full blown mania. That's like really scary. But when I am hypomania or like the early stages of mania, whoa, like I am unstoppable. Well, problem is because I usually don't need sleep. Mine is a long form, so I can go weeks without sleep.
Wow.
Scary. Like not like physically, like not again, our bodies need time to recover. They need time to kind of like repair themselves. So if my brain is telling me go, 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 go for 3 weeks in a row without sleep at all, and it's not like I'm just like vegging on the couch, like, watching TV and I just can't, like, it's not insomnia. It's not that. It is going 150 miles an hour for 3 weeks straight. How can you not, again, logically, how can you not expect a like total destruction crash? Like, right? But
Yeah.
when my mind is in that mania phase, I don't like somehow I feel like I can avert it. So every night there is a negative momentum habit because I know what I could do if I was manic. I do. I helped build a company from nothing to over $50 million in revenue in under 3 years. Unmedicated, unregulated. No. That was scary.
Yeah.
Like that was awesome. Don't get me wrong. Awesome.
Sure. Yes.
But that was very, very scary for my wife.
Mhm.
Very scary for partners. Like that was crazy. So knowing that I can do that, knowing that that is like inside of here, right? I electively daily have to choose to do something that makes it so that that isn't possible. Sure, I can have inklings because again, I'm regulated. I have ups and I have downs. I have good days. I have bad days. But the goal of the therapy version that I'm taking is to control the highs and the lows on that wave.
So the Hulk doesn't come out. You're Bruce Banner.
Correct.
Keeping the Hulk.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And I'm not even the good Hulk. I'm not even Professor Hulk. Like I'm not even at that level, right? Where I can control the rage. And I'm a big comic fan. Sorry. You brought it out. So like immediately my mind went to Professor Hulk.
Yes, I'm with you.
So mentally, emotionally, I perceive that as a negative habit, as negative momentum.
Right.
When in reality, that negative momentum is actually like the greatest like positive momentum, I'm going to say catalyst to consistent growth. Yes, I might be able to explode and then crash, but every time I crash, I'm going to have to restart lower than when I started before. So if I can remove that crash part, which means I got to remove the top, is a negative momentum habit actually a negative? Like this is, and again, I'm asking almost hypothetically, because I've still yet to wrestle with this idea. So it's my concept, it's my idea. But some days, because of that choice, I'm choosing to take away some awesome part of my personality, some awesome part, right? But at the same time, like the nasty Hulk destroyer is in there. So is it really a negative? That's tough, my friend. Ian, that's
Yeah.
tough. And again, I don't want to put like all the grandiose on willpower. And you might have been asked this before, and so I apologize if this is asked before. How did you not give up in seeing so many days of failure? Because you literally had to like learn to walk again. Right? Like we all say like, like seeing a toddler learn to walk for the first time. Would you ever consider telling them no? And we immediately say, oh no, get up. But you weren't a toddler when that happened.
Right.
You knew you could walk, and you knew that ability was either permanently taken away or possibly permanently taken. Like how did you not give up? What non-negotiable did you exhibit in that moment? Like what stuck for you?
Well, the non-negotiable was not giving up. Like the identity of what I wanted to achieve, the identity that I had for myself was my why. That was my pull, right?
Yeah.
There was the subconscious program that I had running in my mind, my body, my biology, my cells, every part of me understood the assignment, which was we are going to walk again. And there is no other option.
No matter how long it took.
Didn't matter.
No matter how painful it was.
There was no time frame on it. It was, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And every night I went to bed and every morning that I woke up and all the hours in between, it didn't matter, the work I had to do, taking care of my kids, taking care of whatever. The main focus, the underwriting program that was always running was we're going to walk again unassisted. We're going to go from wheelchair to walker to crutches to cane. It's going to happen. There wasn't a question about it. So for me, my non-negotiable habit was we get up and we work at being better than we were yesterday. And my momentum habits were ones that I always didn't pay attention to because I would have those down days, right?
Totally.
I would have those days where
you'd have pressure applied, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And having those situations where I was asking myself, why me? What did I do to deserve this? But when I was able to look back on the progress that I had made and understood that what I was doing was supposed to be impossible, that gave me momentum.
Yep.
And so I wanted to do more of it because I saw what was possible. And by looking at what I had achieved so far, I could think about what I could achieve in the future going forward, which created more momentum for myself. But it came down to, Christoph, understanding that there were only two options, and that was either I make this happen or I make this happen. And that was it.
I like how you put it. I make this happen or I make this happen.
My identity was not congruent with any other outcome. To put it plainly, I guess.
Gosh, so inspiring.
I want to flip this back on.
Hit me.
To kind of round out our conversation here. If you could leave us with one powerful takeaway or mantra to help cultivate positive habits, persistence in overcoming adversity, what would that be? If you had to leave us with one thing.
Great question, by the way. If I had to choose just one thing, right? Like my last sentence is, you are one habit away from everything you want. It literally is that simple. Now, that does not mean that it is going to happen tomorrow. That does not mean that it is like going to be, again, you battled the impossible. There are certain things that I want to be very clear, right? because sometimes when I say that, people got to get like this, like woo-woo, self-help, whatever. There is nothing, and I want to be very clear, that I am 5'11", maybe can jump 10 inches. I don't know. I've never measured how high I could jump, so I actually don't know.
Yeah.
There is no world where no matter what habits I do, I become an NBA player. Like, let's just, like, I'm not trying to dash anybody's dreams. I'm just trying to, right? So being one habit away from everything that you want is also living in some form of reality. Having an amazing family, I think that can apply to anybody. Having success can apply to anybody. Finding inner peace and happiness, I think, applies to anybody. Being grateful for everything that you've had and being grateful for everything that's in the future. Like those are the kinds of things that I believe that you're one habit away from. There are no habits that I could, if I shot back in my heyday, Michael Jordan, I realize that there are many greats now, but I'm gonna default to Michael Jordan. The amount of free throws that he would shoot on a daily basis, right, boggles the regular person's mind. But yet that was something that he knew would increase his talent, skill, and ability, and kind of make it like not a non-negotiable, but almost a guarantee. If you foul me at any time during the game, no matter how tired I am, no matter, whatever, I'm going to get put on the free throw and I'm going to get them. I'm going to get both of them, like, just done, over with. If I were to follow the same path and build an amazing, gym and go out there and shoot 1,000 hoops a day, whatever, my skill will totally increase. And I will get to the point where if I were playing the boys in the neighborhood or, down at the local Y, I could crush it. Totally. I think I could get better. I think I could improve skill. Right? But I'm never going to play in the NBA. Like, there are too many other contributing factors. Height, my jumping ability, like the fact that I hate running. Like, if they made us do lines, I would give up. I'd be like, yeah, I don't have any desire to do that. So I want to set the expectation. However, just as you have defied all odds, don't take what I just said as a limiting factor to whatever you decide you want to do. So while I say you're one habit away, I want to just set people up to where, because again, you have an innate ability to dig deeper than, I'm going to say, 99.9% of the people who have ever received or had the same accident that you have, the same diagnosis that you have been able to, like, right? So it's totally possible. It just was at what cost? And it didn't matter how much it cost. You were willing to do it. So if I were to default, long answer, which I'm miraculous at, if you haven't noticed, by the way, you are simply one habit away from anything you want.
That is simple, but not easy.
Correct.
And if we want to find out more about the HabitFreak formula, we want to find out more about Christoph Merrill, where can we go to find out more information about you?
Easiest place to go is habitfreak.com, HabitFreak. Or you can find Christoph Merrill at pretty much all of the socials. Those are two good places. Thank you for the questions. My friend, these have been great.
Thank you for taking the time out of, I know what is your busy schedule, to join us today. And as always, I want to thank our listeners and viewers for joining us as well.
Yes.
And we'll wrap this up like we always do, and knowing that staying positive, staying persistent, and remembering that mindset is everything. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in and being part of the Positive Persistence family. We're having a great time creating this content, and we truly hope it inspires you to embrace positivity and persistence in your own journey. If this podcast episode inspired you or entertained you, scroll down, hit those stars, and leave a comment or two. Your 5-star reviews and shares encourage us and help us grow the show. So until next time, stay positive, stay persistent, and remember, mindset is everything.